I think I'm live and I think I'm on time for once. People, deluded, I'm back again. I hope you're all doing well and safe. Good morning to you. Late morning to you if you're over here in the UK. It's 11:30. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on whoever you are and wherever you are in this world. Now, Sunday morning or this Sunday, better yet, I hope you've all woken up well and safe. The beauty and gift of life, the beauty and curse of life. Life's greatest gift and greatest curse is that, no matter what, there's always another day, there's always tomorrow. And definitely as an Arsenal fan, after the result yesterday, you're definitely hoping on tomorrow. And the tough thing is, obviously, the games are coming thick and fast, both in this manic season of a Premier League and also because we're approaching the business end. Sometimes the best remedy is to play immediately. Like, to a degree, I wish we had a result. We had a game on Tuesday. Not that the problems not that they don't exist, but quickly you can get that out of your system. Forgive me if I'm wrong. And if there isn't a midweek game, we have a long time to sit and ponder before we play Leeds. So we've got a lot of time to self-reflect and things like that in relation to what went wrong. We're going to get on to review the game and things like that. I'd love to touch on Joe Willock, and you lot can't see, but as you lot know, 12 o'clock, which is half an hour odd from now, West Brom will be playing Spurs. Again, it's familiar territory for Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I'm hoping he can pop up with something, whether that's a debut goal, whether that's a convincing performance in midfield, whether that's simply just to spoil Spurs' day, really, and also be like Joe Willock debut goal and that he's playing in midfield. We're going to get on to him as well, and he's someone, like everybody, we hope progress. Again, not to make this about Spurs versus West Brom, but he's part of a three-man midfield with Sawyers and Snodgrass, and as well as you've got the Gallagher, the Chelsea lad over on the right-hand side. I'd imagine Snodgrass and him were swapped. I'd imagine if anyone's better out wide, it's probably Snodgrass. I'd probably want that sort of fight from Gallagher inside. And ironically, he's there with Ajayi, he's there with Kyle Barkley. They're permanent, left us permanently, but they're all Haylen boys or been at Haylen at a time or been in the academy at a time. Kyle Barkley was bought from Bolton. I think previously Semi Ajayi was at Charlton before joining us. So not quite Haylen, only Maitland-Niles, but it's ex-Arsenal men. Obviously, Kieran Gibbs is in the squad as well. We'll get on to all of that, but I hope you're all doing well and safe, people. I hope you're all doing well and safe. What are you lot saying in the comments? Raz is saying, I'm rooting for Maitland-Niles. Hard to root for these men after that performance. Big up yourself, M. Yes, DG. Joe should have got man of the match. He was full of energy for the full 90. We're going to get on to him in a sec, but I agree. Sergio is saying, forget about top 6, bro. Top 10 is going to be tough. I agree with you, bro. I was trying to be nice in the title and things like that, my guy. I was trying to be nice. I think it's a myth. We'll get on to it. And talking with you lot, if nothing more, it's a bit of therapy for me, but it's a myth, man. It's a myth. Let's crack on with the first thing I want to speak about. And that's quickly speaking about Joe Willock, people. Let me share my screen very quickly. Please make sure you're hitting the like button as usual, people. Now, quickly, just quick words on Joe Willock. This is obviously sourced from Google and other accounts, but without talking about Joe Willock just yet, I think it was, I'd say obviously Arsenal lost, so it's never a good game. But so far, the games I've seen this week, I think the West Ham game was good, but I would say Southampton versus Newcastle was a very good game as a neutral, and definitely Everton versus Manchester United yesterday. I mean, United bottled a 2-goal lead, got themselves back ahead. Obviously, last kick of their game, it's a Mazzolini. It was a crazy game, and I'll probably do a review of the Premier League action tomorrow. I know there's one game left, which will be Tuesday, so the Tuesday action will follow in relation to the DG podcast. Make sure you're following on Spotify. Big up all the viewers on Twitch as well. But yeah, man, it had everything in that game, man. It had debut goals for obviously our lad Joe Willock. Minamino's gone to Southampton from Liverpool. Had debut goals, had a wonderful free kick from James Ward-Prowse, had a red card, had Ings hitting the post, had VAR, if I remember correctly. It had everything. It was a very good game from a neutral point of view. Southampton might have been able to get something out of the game on another day. But for Arsenal, obviously, you're hoping we can pick up where we left off, or at least Joe Willock can in his next games. Obviously, he's got a lot of football to be played in the Premier League. So while we hope this is how he hopes to continue, we can't draw too many conclusions with Joe Willock. Obviously, it's a wonderful debut. You're having a good game for Newcastle, a big club, a heavily supported club. You've got a legend in Alan Shearer praising you. Ian Wright on Match of the Day and them things praising you. Everybody's singing your praises. Fans on social media saying thank you for him. Again, I think it's a good fit for Joe. Again, shout out to Hayden as well. He also had a good game for Newcastle, fellow Arsenal lad. I think it's easy to see why they fell in love immediately with Joe Willock. Obviously we know he's got a lot of energy. We know he's got a lot of gear. We know he mucks in a lot, and I think Joe Willock showed that. Obviously, the goal, midfield runners, he's got legs. He simply continues his run and he taps home. He won't score an easier goal, and it's a dream debut for him, people. So again, Joe Willock kind of showed in that game what we know from him. He's got energy, he's got intention, he puts himself about. I feel he was almost hard done by. He probably should have had some couple of assists as well, to be fair. Definitely for Wilson. I can't remember correctly, but one maybe for John Joe Shelby. If that's his debut, I hope he continues to leave off. If I scrutinize it a bit, I could say I ain't really learned anything about Joe Willock based on that game. I know he's got energy. I know he's got legs. I know he's got an eye for goal. So, as much as I'm not belittling it, I'm just looking at it on a neutral thing. I think he's done well, but that's it. On another hand, you could say as well, Newcastle might be a better fit for Joe. For us, you want Joe Willock to obviously come back to Arsenal a better player, able to break into the first team or more competent. Other than that, you want him to be put into the shop window. That's what I mean. Put yourself into 2 shop windows. Go and remind Arteta you need to get game time, because apparently from summer times he was telling you to go on loan. Or if you can't do that, go and put yourself in the shop window for Thingy. Shop window either to stay at Newcastle permanently or any other Premier League teams, people. By default, for being a young man playing in the Premier League, Southgate's probably keeping eyes on you, and you've probably registered onto his radar just by that. So again, I want to see more, but it was convincing from Joe Willock as well, people. Like I said, it had everything in this game. It was a fantastic game to watch from a neutrals, and definitely off the back of Arsenal's disgraceful performance. It gave me a lot. Maybe this is, again, I don't want to draw too many conclusions because he will have good and bad games, but maybe Newcastle is a better fit for Joe Willock. It's less intricate, it's more busy, with all due respect. That could be for him. And like I said, we already know a lot about Joe. We know he's hustle and bustle, but in terms of ideas and invention on the ball, that's what I need to see him display by the end of the Newcastle loan, people. I know he can put himself around, show me a bit of quality on the ball, which he did yesterday. Keep it up. As you lot can see here, Joe Willock scored, created 2 chances for his teammates, won a game high of 5 tackles, and also made a team high of 2 interceptions on his debut. So we know he puts himself around. We know he mucks in for the cause. He had a pass accuracy of 60%. That could be better as well, people. And also, yeah, man, he took 35 touches, played 2 key passes, attempted 2 dribbles, made 5 tackles, as we said, 2 interceptions and 2 clearances. So maybe, this tells me it's all engineered, but in terms of, that added quality on the ball, probably needs to show a bit more. But let's see where he goes, man. It's a good debut for the young lad. And he only attempted 11 passes in the whole game, so we know Joe puts himself around, but that little bit of quality on the ball to open up a team or try and dictate the tempo, he needs to, that again, it's his first game of the loan, and he's played well, but he needs to do better in that regards. Do you get it? So again, that class in games where it's high demanded and high energy, Joe does his thing, but beyond that, you need you need a bit more class about you. And like I said, to wrap it up, people, in relation to Joe, you hope that this loan can obviously give him the confidence to break through at Arsenal a bit more, or obviously put himself in the shop window, because as you lot know, you've got Guendouzi, Torreira, Maitland-Niles and Willock all on loan. Probably, ideally, all of them could have a future here, or all of them would be sold for profit. Some of them probably have to come back. So, and they've all got around the same sort of period left on their deal. So it's going to be interesting what we do with Joe Willock, Maitland-Niles, Guendouzi and Torreira. I'm inclined to believe Torreira and Guendouzi are gone. Maitland-Niles might leave permanently. I think Joe will come back. Joe will have a future. I think, this loan is in an ideal world. He keeps continuing like this, he'd probably sign a new deal, protecting his resale value, and then have more of a task of breaking in, because as you lot know, even El Nene probably ain't going to be here next season. Odegaard and Ceballos are here on loan. Xhaka will probably be here, but his future from time to time speculated. So Partey is the only player you could say really could be here in an ideal world, convincingly say could be here in the next 2-3 years. And even with him, you're taking a risk now, because we're seeing he's a bit injury prone, to put it nicely. So long may it continue, Joe Willock. Hopefully Joe can continue to do his thing, people, and we're supporting young Joe Willock all the way, people. So that's that in relation to Joe Willock. As you lot can see, I'm doing my timestamps. Now, if we go on to Maitland-Niles, as I've said, people, Maitland-Niles has been named in the starting lineup for the West Bromwich Albion game, people. You know me, during that game, sorry, people, I'm trying to find my notes. During that game, obviously, After the game, sorry, I obviously, offer my own thoughts, what I've seen him do, what I think he could have done better, etc., etc. But he's got his start, and for me, it's fantastic for Maitland-Niles. Like I said, obviously, I hope he continues kind of how Joe Willock set it in his debut game. It'd be wonderful if first and foremost West Bromwich Albion could beat Spurs, but if Maitland-Niles plays well, man of the match sort of stuff, or also has a good game, it'd be fantastic. For Maitland-Niles, it's all down to him now. Big Sam has said you're going to play in midfield. That's what he wants to do. Go and put yourself, like Joe will look in the shop window. Go and say to Arteta, you shouldn't have loaned me out. You should have played me more at right back. But also he's got to play, also he's got to show that he can actually play well in midfield. Apologies. Somebody said, why do you stamp? What are you talking about? Time stamps for people not listening in right now. It obviously gives them an opportunity if they watch this live stream again. But like I was saying before I was interrupted, with Maitland-Niles, you want to see him show Arteta that, my versatility could have been utilised to show him I can be part of this future. To show him also that, whatever way we look at it, Maitland-Niles never got a chance in midfield under Arteta, really. And that's the same said for a couple of managers here. Maybe Maitland-Niles are done by, but if you're overlooked kind of there by Arteta, Emre, and probably I'm missing out. Wenger didn't really play you there, sporadically. He was more at fullback. There's got to be a reason as to why they've all played you there. Go and prove that they're all maybe don't know what they're talking about. Also, go and put yourself in the shop window for Southgate. Maybe if West Brom stay up, they can take you permanently. Maybe other Premier League teams, because you saw Southampton and Leicester were interested in you. Go and show them that you can play in midfield. For me, I would love Maitland-Niles to stay. I think he's got versatility. What I want him to do, though, is when you return to Arsenal, can you return as a midfielder able to play fullback, or as a fullback able to play in midfield? That's what we need from Maitland-Niles. It's all on him now. You've got a platform, go out and do it. For me, Maitland-Niles, he can carry a ball, he can pass, he's got good qualities. But in terms of, beat that urgency, that's the one aspect he's got to show glaring improvements. And I think West Bromwich Albion, you're going to be part of a low block 9 times out of 10, trying to stay penned in, trying to hold your position. So there's a lot for Maitland-Niles to potentially learn. Hopefully he can play well in this game. As I said, he's got his debut today against Spurs away from home. They're fighting relegation. He's 23 years of age now. Football's got real. There's no shield or comfortability of being at Arsenal. There's none of that now. They're fighting for their careers. They're trying to stay in the division. It's as simple as that. If we look at Maitland-Niles himself, he gave he spoke finally to West Bromwich Albion, and I say finally because I was looking for this, people. As you lot know, Ainsley Maitland-Niles apparently is relishing the opportunity to play regular football and be part of the fight at West Brom, people. I need to upgrade something here. Let me zoom in because I don't know if you lot can fully see. As I said, he's 23 years of age. He became their 5th signing, second midfield signing in hindsight then, because they got a lad from Celta Vigo, and he's joined mid-season in a relegation fight. There's no time for niceties. Obviously, the luxury of adapting to the team, all of these things are valid, but he has to hit the ground running. They're looking at it as, like I said, they're fighting relegation. They're trying to stay in the league. People are fighting for their futures. This man's won an FA Cup, played over 100 times for Arsenal, an England international. You should be Premier League proven and able to hit the ground running quicker rather than later. So again, the niceties are gone. And for me, crucially, I thought he was going to play midfield and fullback. We've been abundantly told you're playing midfield. Obviously, there's versatility to be had, It's this loan spell is what Ainsley Maitland-Niles makes it. They're not going to just give him game time so it develops him for Arsenal. It's not going to do much for West Bromwich Albion. Obviously, you're hoping Maitland-Niles can do well on loan at West Brom as well. Last lad that went on loan to West Brom didn't do too well and went off to higher heights. We did hear as well agent fees scuppered potential moves to other Premier League teams, people. But Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who is now taking his second loan spell away from Arsenal after the Ipswich one and his first in the Premier League, people, he has said it's fantastic to have the opportunity to play regularly in the Premier League. So he's already said it in the first there. He's left to play football, people. And also Arteta said that. He said, it's all I ever wanted, to show the world how good I am. So what does that tell you? All Ainsley Maitland-Niles wanted was a platform. You now got your platform. He's also said, I want to say a huge thank you to all the West Bromwich Albion fans. They've sent me a lot of messages on social media. I'm proud to be a member of the club and I want to kick on from here. Their messages give me the energy and drive to keep on going every single day. We're in a tough situation at the moment. I want to be part of the fight. I want to grit my teeth, get down and dirty, and see how I come out of it. I want to come out on top of it, and I want the team to come out on top of it. Exactly, people. So that's what I want to hear from Maitland-Niles. He's under no illusion. He could just be in la 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 la, finally getting a time to play regular football. No, this is the nastiest now. You're gonna have to learn on the job. They're fighting for they're fighting to stay in the league. They're fighting for spaces in the first team. You've joined mid-season. The fans have been giving you high praise, but as you know, in football, that energy can turn real quickly. But I like that from Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He's of no illusion that at 23, it's now time to certify myself. I haven't really got time to waste, and I'm going in a dogfight, and I want to show my quality. For me, hopefully he goes there, he shows his quality, he shows his ability to fight, and he comes back to Arsenal as a better player. Personally, I think it's to put himself in the shop window, because who better? Again, there'll still be question marks as to whether he's a right back or whatever, but think about it. If Joe Willock can come back as a better player for the squad, if Maitland-Niles can come back as a more rounded midfielder who could be utilised there as well as at fullback, what better to help us than the homegrown lads rather than these other people? Because like I said, off the top of my head, Guendouzi, Torreira, and Nene, based on two being out on loan, one's contract, all three of them should be moved on. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't bring in other players, clearly, but who better to utilise in the squad than Maitland-Niles? And for me, I just want you to be able to prove that you have some use, whether that's at right back or in midfield. I want you to show Arteta again. And a lot was said about how he trains and things like that. So a lot of people are going to be watching this with scrutiny. And like he said, hopefully I'm a player who can help this club survive in the Premier League. There's always an opportunity. It's about having the right structure and the right players around you. Sam has done that when you look at the last 4 days of the transfer window. The biggest achievement for me this season here at West Bromwich Albion would be the team staying up. Any more than that, and I'd be trust. I've met everyone now. Everybody's welcoming. It's no nonsense in training. Get down and dirty straight away. I can't wait to get going. And that's it. You've got a platform now. Games are coming thick and fast. Football is real, people. You're playing against Spurs who are angry because they've been bottling points. They want the 3 points just as much as you. They want to get into the Champions League. You're trying to stay in the division. Harry Kane is somehow is fit in some capacity. Admittedly, I don't know if he's on the bench. I don't know if he's starting. I'd be inclined to believe he's starting because he's warming up. So yeah, you're going against tough games and tough oppositions. And I think what would have made this extra special for Ainsley Maitland-Niles is actually if the Spurs fans were there, we'd be clearly getting booed and things like that. It's real now. Come 90 minutes, if you're not doing the job, you might not start the next game. So I'm happy for Ainsley Maitland-Niles as well as Joe Willock, people. So let's see. Obviously, if you haven't come across it, I think on Friday, Big Sam kind of told you where he's using Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Now, let's be honest, people. Maitland-Niles, it is a dream to have someone like that in your team, just in terms of versatility. I'm not saying the individual, just somebody. It's good to have someone that can fill in a couple of positions. But and he needs to look at someone like James Milner. But what he needs to do is certify I'm a midfielder who can do a job at fullback if needed, or I'm a fullback if needed. Look at Saka. Saka's undoubtedly a left or right winger with the ability to play at fullback if need be, if push comes to shove. Obviously, with that, you've actually seen Saka last season play as a midfield 8 of sorts. You've also seen him play as a 10, but you get the point. 23 years of age, it's now time to get regular football, develop, and start putting down some real markers now. And for me, crucially, it's about regular football, because how many times have you seen people like Ainsley, if they play bad, you shouldn't be in the team, but he'll boss it and then you'll not be in the team. I want to see you be able to boss it twice a week. So football's got real now. It's got real. There's plenty. It's a like all transfers, it's a marriage, temporary marriage or relationship of convenience. Ainsley Maitland-Niles gets a platform. Obviously, Sam Allardyce gets strengthened reinforcements to help him stay in the league, people. Let's see how it is, people. But I want to see, obviously, in terms of playing in midfield, it's there. Big Sam has said it here, people. It's why he came to West Brom. We're playing him in the position he wants to play and his most favourite position, the one he came up through, a centre mid. There you have it, people. It's one of the reasons why he chose West Bromwich Albion. You probably would get more game time there versus the midfielders that Southampton have and Leicester. Again, he'd be a manager's dream if he goes to Wolves, if he stays at Arsenal, if he goes to Southampton, if he goes to Leicester. All of these teams, he gets into them. He has it all. He can play on either fullback as well as midfield. But is he going to start at any of these teams at right back as first choice, as left back at first choice, in midfield? This is where he needs to go, people. Please please make sure you're hitting the like button. Big up all the Twitch gang as well. Please make sure you're following on Twitch. It gives you them reliable notifications. I know some of you have probably been done dirty because of YouTube. But yeah, Ainsley, you've been given a chance in midfield. Go out and take it, really and truly. Sam Allardyce has said it himself, people. He said it there, so he's got what it is, people, and he's spoken more in general there. So I'm not going to go over that at all, people. That's about Nicolas Pepe, and that's not of any relevance per se. So yeah, that's it in relation to Maitland-Niles and Joe Willock, the first part of this, people. Sorry, as I add to the timestamp, as you lot can see. What was that? It was 20 minutes, really. This is just for those of you that aren't here, obviously, people. So yeah, what are you lot saying in the comments? Peter is saying, I hope Ainsley Maitland-Niles does very well at West and Willock. I assume you mean at Newcastle. Keep going, Deluded. I appreciate that, my guy. Could Sami Khedira have been a good signing on loan for Arsenal? Probably not. Them days there are gone. Really? Bro, Jamie, they're doing you dirty, man. All I can say is I apologize. I don't know why YouTube does that. Where is Ainsley Maitland-Niles playing? He's playing in midfield today. He's got a big opportunity. Big up yourself, live from Planet X. Big up the Bradford Project. I hope Ainsley 2 foots Kane. Let's not advocate badness and wickedness, my guy. Ryan has said, what's good, DG? I'm good. Well, as good as I can be after yesterday's performance. We keep marching on, man. It is what it is, firmly in that regard. Big up yourself, Monster, as well. Please make sure you're hitting the like button and you're following across all socials. He's a good player. He just needs a run, and now he's gonna get that. He's gonna get that, and then he has no excuses. It's as simple as that, man. Goal is saying Spurs nil, West Brom 1. Spurs lack ability to break teams down. Might be true. I expect Spurs to wipe the floor with West Bromwich Albion. I'm not gonna lie, but football isn't one on paper. Big up yourself, Brian. Josh, I hope you're well. So yeah, that's it in relation to Joe Willock and Ainsley Maitland-Niles, people. We might as well get into the tactical review of the game and things like that, people. Because as it was a weird game, really. Yesterday, it was a weird one because I don't think we played bad. I don't think we played good. It's just stupid individual mistakes yet again. So yeah, we might as well review the game from a tactical point of view, people. So yeah, people, if I scroll up quickly before I share the other page review, things learned in terms of what I probably learned yesterday. Not that I learned anything, but we saw the same. Possession doesn't mean goals. We had a lot of possession, but we're not clinical. With your eyes, you could see that we're not clinical in front of goal. We weren't doing much with it. We weren't putting the ball in the back of the net. We didn't really work Martinez, really and truly. I know Xhaka had the free kick. That's probably the only one off the top of my head where he really was worked, I don't think we had any IQ because, again, we know Martinez as well. We know Martinez, he was at our team, and I think we're putting in a lot of our set pieces were poor anyways, but I think we're putting in a lot of crosses. One of Martinez's strengths is his handling and his coming out, and you're putting it right on top of him. And not only that, there's no one challenging Martinez, so it's not making sense to me. So I don't think there was enough invention in the final third. I don't think there was enough intention to break the team down. Possession is 9/10 of the law. If you have possession, you can do a lot. In possession, in theory, possession is a form of defense, but it's what you do with possession. We had high amounts of possession yet again. It didn't transpire into anything. We barely worked their keeper, like I said, and really, even we had a stronger second half. But when you look at it, I think we had 13 or so shots. We only hit the target 3 times. Where I think Aston Villa had 12 shots. They hit the target 8 times. Now we know we presented their goal to them, but you get the point. We need to be more clinical in front of goal. And in recent weeks, the West Broms, the Chelseas, these games there, we were quite clinical in front of goal. Newcastle to a degree, and it's been leaving us. We still struggle to break down low blocks or teams that just defend well as units, as you lot could see, people. Even the Newcastle game, you look at go back to the Newcastle game in the league and look at the second and first halves. They came out more expansive in the second half and the game opened up for us. And I did think the game was opened up against Villa at times and we didn't take advantage. So yeah, we still need to learn how to break down well-drilled units, we couldn't cope with Villa's shape off the ball. We couldn't break them down. I don't think on the ball we had enough quality. Off the ball there wasn't enough movement, and I didn't see enough creativity in the final third. The lack of movement and the options. I think there was really a lack of real tempo and play to take it to the next level. The only time I saw us really try to score is in the second half. By then the game's already done. I did think as well our play is extremely always one-sided focus, and Saka, watching the game again, Saka played better than I thought, but he still didn't have these best of games. But it shows you that players hide behind Saka. Is it any coincidence on the right-hand side we're attacking more on the right-hand side in the first? Saka's gone to left back, and him and Pepe are doing a lot of good for us in the second half, but it came to no avail. So we're still hiding behind certain figureheads, and we need all players to stand up to be counted and try difficult things. Obviously, it's another game where it's an individual mistake, and based on the last two games from Cedric and David Luiz, now it's not good enough, really and truly. Like Arteta said, top teams don't make these mistakes frequently. Like I said, people, both halves, you want to see where we attack stronger down each side in each half. Just look at where Bukayo Saka is. I think we need to go back to the drawing board for our set pieces. Personally, people, I don't think our set pieces are good enough. There's not enough invention. They're barely getting past the first man. It's a myth. And when you're going against Mings and Konza and a team that are good in the air, better than us, it doesn't make sense. It's all about how you start the game. We were the first team to play in the Premier League this week. We're coming off the back of a defeat. We know Aston Villa start well, including this game. They've back, like when we played Southampton last couple of times, they score within the first opening 20 odd minutes against us. So I don't think we learned our lessons. I don't think, considering they beat us 3-0, there was enough urgency from our boys. We started slowly, and that can only be reflected in the mistake that was made. I see a super chat. Big up yourself, Apex. You said I play FIFA, after Arsenal games. Fair play. Big up yourself for the super chat. Regardless, I didn't think it was a foul from Martinez on Lacazette, but the more I watch it, the more I'm sort of convinced, but I'm not really focused on that. Pepe did have a chance to score, and we did have some others, and we're lucky in the second half. They started off stronger than us, but we're lucky that Barkley and Traore actually can't finish. So Matt Ryan and Gabriel saved us for one of those. I think it was Traore's. I was criticizing our set pieces. The second half, do you lot remember there was a fantastic set piece, and it went into the path of Barkley, and he miskicked it. He should have absolutely walloped that, and that should have been 2-0. Shout out to Matt Ryan as well. He was one of the positives. In terms of positives, he's not here, but I think Matt Ryan, he's the only player I don't think could have been asked to do a lot more. The goal he couldn't do nothing about. There's a deflection. Matt Ryan gave a good account of himself as our second choice keeper. We initially got to see potentially how Smith Rowe could be used with Odegaard. One was central at one point, one was on the flanks, and then one was on the flanks, one was central. Odegaard off the bench obviously didn't score, and you don't get points for shooting over, but I think he looked impressive. There was an incident where he lost the ball on the edge of our area. Saka did that in the game as well, and also somebody else did, to be fair, and it could have presented problems. I think watching the game again, Pepe not excelled, but he did very well defensively, and he looked to be an outlet. Not quite the Pepe that's been there the last couple of games, but he's still there. Spurs and West Brom are about to play, and our Ainsley Maitland-Niles is out there, people. Still on the bad days, everything goes through Saka. So yeah, if we quickly go to the tactical thingy, people, what have I got here? This was the goal. Now, not to scale, but if you lot remember, initially John McGinn is trying to play a ball through. He can see his man Watkins, and I think in the build-up, Gabriel and Holden, just in terms of doing better, because I've seen us do this against Jamie Vardy, against many players. Can we look over our shoulders and be aware of where the man is? And I don't think we was. It's good play from Watkins from out to in, and Watkins was playing very well. You saw him working hard for his team in wide areas. You saw him I'll expand more in a sec, but you saw him get behind the ball well. And he deserved his goal. He's an Arsenal fan. I think he's got 3 goals against us. But initially, we started slowly. John McGinn's tried to play that pass in behind for his man. Obviously, Gabriel's read it and he's intercepted it. It's gone to Cedric, and Cedric is sleeping. Cedric is a hospital pass. It's called a hospital pass because it puts man in hospital. Traore, not to scale, but simply put, Traore's latched upon it. It's as simple as that, people. He simply latched upon it. And again, we're still not aware now, people. Gabriel's reactive. I did feel they're not here, but I did feel actually our midfielders probably could have seen the run of Watkins in the build-up. But fundamentally, I think it's Cedric's fault. He sold my man short, as you lot saw with this back pass. Holding could have done a lot better. I feel he's not aware of where Watkins is. He makes a little movement. Obviously, as the ball comes in, you know how the script goes. Watkins eventually finishes. It takes a deflection slightly off Holding. There's nothing Matt Ryan could do. Maybe goalkeeping coaches could say the positioning could have been better. I don't think it could have done anything, but that's fundamentally where the goal was. It's as simple as that. And 2 minutes into the game, the mentality has to be there. I personally think it's fundamentally Cedric's fault because that's a stupid under hit back pass, people. It's as simple as that. And 2 minutes into the game, especially when you're an experienced player and you're in form, you shouldn't be doing that. So fundamentally, that's where the game's lost. Like I said, possession isn't going to correlate to goals unless you're going to work the keeper. So I think whatever we was doing initially to start scoring goals has been deserted. We've lost our clinical edge in recent games, so we need to go back to the drawing board. If we move away, people, obviously we're the team in blue. Focusing on the team in red, clearly we have a problem against low blocks or teams that have units or hold the good defensive shape and hold the good defensive units. Now, for me personally, I don't think I'd describe Aston Villa as a low block. I don't think they did that. But what they did do is clearly get 11 men behind that ball, people. And we had no answers for it. Watkins was working well, giving his team support out in wide areas, and obviously that on the counter we looked a bit scary. But you need invention, people. Like you can see, 2 banks of 4, Barkley tucking in, Watkins tucking in, Grealish, tucking in. And to be fair, one positive could be, Grealish was quiet by his own standards. They're tucking in. We had no answers to break them down. Obviously, if the ball goes long, Lacazette ain't going to win it too many times against Mings and Konza. They're bigger than him. They're better in the air. So that's a myth. So naturally, you need him to occupy that. But you want him to drop slightly, moving the ball out of possession, people. Smith Rowe is going to get into pockets. But again, someone needs to feed it. And really, he's around everyone. You've got our midfield. And again, there's no movement. There's no option. So we need to go back to the drawing board. Our centre halves are on the ball. Our fullbacks are wide. But typically, you're playing backwards passes and 5 yards. Now, I'm not saying lose the ball for the sake of it. But could you skip someone out? For instance, here, it doesn't have to go from Gabriel to, let's say, Partey to get to Cedric. Could you skip it out and go straight to Cedric, straight to Pepe, and a bit of movement? So when a team's got a good, well-drilled unit and you're playing backwards passes and it's slow, you're helping them keep their spot. Where if you're moving it quickly, obviously, if Grealish ain't there quick enough and he doesn't get out to Bellerin, he's got to get out when he realizes I'm too late. There's obviously space now that could be exploited. You could see how you could potentially score. Target's got to come out as well. You could see how space could be exploited, and eventually this might lead to an opportunity if it goes into the box and there's movement. For instance, if it's too slow, for instance, it's taking too long to get to Bellerin, he's just going to sit in and tuck in. And they're going to take that, people, because it's just going to go sideways and sideways and sideways. Hector Bellerin was far too narrow for me. When he gets forward, you never get the conviction that he knows where a pass is because they read him. But for me, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to help us when you're just going narrow, way too inside. Whether it's on the ball or off it, he's way too narrow. And I think we need our fullbacks to hug it a bit. Naturally, Cedric, again, on the good best of days, he shows that I'm a right-footed man playing at left back. And he's taking it on his right foot and going backwards. So we're allowing them to hold their shape. I did think it was a game for pace, people, really. Really and truly. So if I don't really want to move everything. I just want to see if I can do this again. Can I? Yeah, please mess that up, please, for me. I want to start again. Yeah, man. Well, it's not letting me start again, people. I thought there was an option to just make this all. Sorry, people. I wanted it to start again, but just so it's easier, I'm gonna do it on the other side here. So if we remove Leno and we say this is second half and we swap teams now, yeah. Lacazette's hold-up play is good, and he did do well. He earned a couple fouls, but Mings and Kolza, they knew what time it was in that regards. They knew what time it is. They both probably prefer it in the air. The only time Kolza looked a bit stressed is when Saka's pulling him into wide areas, and you saw him give a foul away and things like that. With I did think it was a game for pace because their centre halves were kind of high. And as much as Lacazette drops and things and gives you stuff, he don't give you that pace on the counter attack. He doesn't give you that. So again, they backed themselves in a foot race. And when you've got Matty Cash tucking in and you've got Target, you back yourself. So I was looking at it in the first half is like, can we get a Aubameyang? Can you get a Aubameyang in? Because obviously Aubameyang, they can't afford to be high. Obviously Aubameyang can't do the physical thing too tough against them, but they can't afford to get into a foot race. The problem with the catch-22 is, if you are going to hit Aubameyang, and saying we're the red now, like I said, people, we're not blue anymore. If you're going to hit Aubameyang, You know, you need movement. You need people who are going to pass the ball, whether that's Smith Rowe able to hit him. Let's just say these two, like I said, just pretending we're swapping colours at this moment, whether you've got midfielders with the ability to hit him, because what is the strengths, people? You want Aubameyang on the last shoulder. You want him on the last shoulder. You don't want him into feet. And the thing is, when you're playing slow and you've got a team, like I said, that I keep saying West Brom, Aston Villa were doing, you know, 2 banks of 4. Again, they're blue for just this example because they want to move everything. You've getting Barkley tucking in there. You've got Watkins tucking in there, and you're not playing to the strength of pace. You can see how they're just going to sit. And then it doesn't matter if you've got Lacazette or Aubameyang because he's having to play on the channels. You've got Smith Rowe trying to get it. Either Smith Rowe drops deep, and again, that's one less body there, or he's there. You know, your fullbacks can get forward as much as they want. They have to have the ability as well. You know, and you can see how it kind of factors in. So I did think we needed to get Aubameyang on, but a mixture of not us playing to Aubameyang's strengths and him playing poorly was a case. I do think it's another game as well where the substitutions could be called into perspective because again, I don't disagree with it. I said Saka left back, Aubameyang on. I don't really agree with Martinelli off the bench for Willian. I don't see how I would have. If the only one I would have said, all right, cool, is if he said no to Martinelli in the case of bringing on Ceballos, and I believe that because clearly we're chasing the game. You've got Ceballos. You've got Odegaard. You know what they're trying to do. If you're bringing on Ceballos as well, I can understand it. So it means these players stay deeper up the field. I could understand that. I don't think Willian was bad off the bench. He actually had more shots than a couple of other people. Something we can't say. But I didn't see what he'd give you ahead of Martinelli. And I think we needed energy and inspiration. And away from Martinelli's intelligence and things, I think one thing you need when you're chasing a game is hope. And I think Martinelli gives you that. He gives you inspiration. He gives you hope. And it can rub off to other guys, people. And like you said, South London, you know, Lacazette, when you get like that, when he's playing too deep, you know, then Lacazette, and it's a natural. Lacazette probably said, you know what, I'm a strong youth, but F that, them and they are on this, innit? Let me drop deep. So naturally, there's no focal point. I'm trying to move all of these out the way. Just focus on the blue ones for me, people. Just so if you don't understand what South London's getting at. You know, obviously, Lacazette, naturally, if you try to do the physical thing, you don't win against the centre-half. You're going to say, F it, all right, cool, let me drop deep. Now, that's good for us. But the centre-halves are going to say, you know what? Let's either get higher up the field or, you know what, Martinez, you don't always have to go long, you know. Where's the ball? You don't always have to go long. Bro, Lacazette's getting tired. He's dropping. Give us it. You know, and with that, if you're a centre half, you would be absolutely bollocking your fullbacks for staying here. You know, you want them higher. We'll get the ball. You know, we'll do our thing. We'll split. You know, John McGinn and them man there. John McGinn, come get the ball. You know, Grealish, don't come inside. Stay out there, bro. We're gonna create 2v1s out there. You know, Barkley, I need you to come show for it though. And you've got Traore lurking. So yeah, you could understand how that was firmly the case, people. So we played into their hands. Moving away from that though, and looking at some statistics courtesy of Opta and Shaqwa and Orbino, their Twitter account. Partey sadly has completed 90 minutes just 4 times in all comps for Arsenal so far this season, which is obviously concerning. Only Pepe with 3 shots had more shots than Willian for Arsenal today, which was yesterday. Arsenal have scored fewer goals than any other teams in the top 12 in the table. So away from us just not being clinical, you can see how goals are crucial. Our expected goals in the last 3 games has been less than 1 each match, which maybe shows you maybe we was outperforming it, and you can never escape it for too long, people. We're conceding cheap goals. We're not being clinical enough. Like I said, second half, I don't need to show you lot. You know, in the second half, we had more of a goal. We started getting forward, you know, Saka and Pepe primarily driving it for us, encouraging cameo from Odegaard off the bench, but ultimately it means nothing, people. Saka's had 45 shots so far this season, more than any other player. We do rely on Saka too much, like you could see in the first half with everything on the right hand side, coincidentally everything on the left. Now maybe Saka and Pepe are 2 dangerous players at the moment. That made sense. We faced 8 shots on target faced today is the most against Arsenal in the Premier League this season. So again, we was allowing too much. We've lost our last 3 league games against Villa for the first time in a row, for the first time since 1993. So that's the first time in my lifetime. I don't want to make Aubameyang a talking point, but we might have to accept something's going wrong, to put it nicely. 20 games for Aubameyang so far this season and just 17 shots on target. whatever way we look at it, we sit 10th, could even drop lower. We have taken 31 points after 23 games this season. We have only managed fewer in 2 previous Premier League campaigns, people. Last season and in 94, 95. 95, the year I was born. It's not a good time for Arsenal fans. Aston Villa have taken the lead between the 20th and 27th minute in each of the last 3 Premier League games against us. So like we already knew, we said it earlier, I didn't even know I copied and pasted that stat. We need to start off strong. For me, that's also a lesson we haven't learned in our last couple of games, even against Southampton. We conceded early against Southampton in the league when Theo scored. Then we conceded early in the FA Cup. We haven't learned our lesson really and truly in that regards, people. Our next 5 fixtures, we'll get onto that in a second. But as you can see, it was just a woeful day at the office, simply put, people, really and truly. So yeah, when things can go bad, they go bad, people. It's as simple as that. We just have to go back to the drawing board and learn from what we need to learn from. Yeah, big up everyone. Please make sure you're hitting the like button, people. As you can see, I'm doing the timestamps. What are you guys saying before we get into the rest of it? Google Docs. Hey, man, big up the Google Docs. He has been poor this season. Emil Smith-Rowe just lacks a little confidence is all. I don't think he lacks confidence. I've seen it. He looks very confident. I don't think he was bad yesterday. I think he had a decent game. I just thought he could have been subbed. I wasn't complaining. I wouldn't say it was a mistake. I wouldn't say he's been dreadful. I think that's a bit of an over-exaggeration, Thomas, but fair play. It's fair play. So it's a mixture of Aubameyang playing poor and us not having the courage to pick those runs, man. It's crazy. To be fair, Smith-Rowe can keep the ball. I'd say that's one of his strengths. He's one of the quickest with a ball at his feet, personally. I don't think he had a bad game, but the problem is, this is what I was telling you, lot. You could have Smith-Rowe, Odegaard on the bench. It's nothing if there's no movement and if there's no intention. You can have just having creative players on the football field don't mean you can create a team. Your players need to move. Your fullbacks need to make the field wider. Your midfield need to manipulate the pitch. Even your centre halves have to have a big say. It's not as white and black as that, evidently, but I appreciate everybody's opinions. See a couple of super chats. Big up yourself, Apex. He said, we don't have intelligent players to unlock defenses with combinations and close quarter touches. We have a defense that now needs the old Arsenal attack. I see where you're coming from. I think it's a more so than a lack of ability. I think it's a mentality thing because they show in patches they can do it. It's yesterday for me more than anything was mentality. You're meant to start the game well. For every reason, we know the context is of going into the game. People, we know Spurs are likely to beat West Brom today and get back in it. So again, I just think we've bottled it in that regards. But I see where you're coming from. Ironically, remember when we just had bare creative men to the point where we used to force one on the wings. I'd give a lot to go back there. Big up yourself, young Mizzy, man. Appreciate the content, my guy. Appreciate you for that $9.99, man. You've bought me a hella lot of sour Skittles, man. It's crazy, man. And big up yourself, new tactics board, my guy. To be fair, I see someone else on YouTube using. I was thinking, I must be able to use that as well. It makes a change from the usual one, all the glare going, everything. It makes it easier, sort of thing. So anything to try and make the thing better for you guys. Arsenal have to win the Europa League, boy, probably, but I don't know if we can do it. I'm not gonna get too excited in that regards, man. We just have to see what can be done, really and truly. Arteta saying we dominated the game. I think he's confusing possession with dominance, no penetration at all. And, that's it. It don't mean nothing if you don't do anything with the ball and attack it. Keeping the ball is a form of defense. Undoubtedly, if you're playing for a draw, it would make sense. But it's not making it doesn't make sense for me. Should we even just see what Arteta's had to say? We should really see what some of the other comments are saying. What have we got here? Big up Matt Ryan. Let's start with Matt Ryan because hail him up. Sad to say, a boyhood Arsenal fan, didn't get to keep a clean sheet, didn't get a win. All of these things there were out of his control. He said, besides the start of the game, we thought we were right in it. We were competing, but we were just that little bit slower out the blocks than they were. We got punished for it. And at this lesson, you get punished for the smallest of things. That's a fact. And I'm not getting at Matt Ryan, people. I'm not going to read this all out. In fact, really and truly, we don't need to read this all out. Big up Matt Ryan. But again, how many times are we going to lose games or drop points and say the same things about you can't afford to make these mistakes at this level and things like that? Mistakes made often are a choice. And it's cheap points. You know, you've handed Aston Villa the points across both them games. You've handed Wolves the points across those games. You've shot yourself in the foot against Southampton in the first game and got it back again. You know, you couldn't break down a low block against Crystal Palace. United, again, I'm not too harsh because a point goes either way, but you could have nicked it. My point being, of recent, we've dropped too many points recently. And if you look at it very quickly, people, you know, we've still done all right of recent, but simply quickly the landscape changes. You failed to beat Palace. You know, you've got a draw against United. You've lost to Wolves. You lost to Villa. Suddenly, depending on what happens with Leeds, it's a different sort of game, people. And again, the top teams don't make these mistakes. They kill teams off. And don't, if we go through the last recent game, I find myself listening to the same things Arteta is saying, but it's facts. You did see him chat to the official, and he said, "I keep that between me and them." On whether he was unhappy with a couple of decisions, he said, "I prefer to stay mute on that." Fair play. On the performance in general, he said it was a really strong performance. We completely dominated the game. We dominated in every department, and we should have won the game. Coulda, woulda, shoulda isn't a fact. We didn't win the game. And could you say we dominated? We had a lot of shots in the second half, but I don't class that as domination. We're confusing high amounts of possession and lack of quality shots, because we had 13 shots or something like that. In fact, let me look myself, people. Apologies. I'm sure it's up here. Yeah. Okay, cool. We had end of the game. We had 67% of possession to their 33. We made 597 passes, a pass accuracy of 87 passes. They had 73% pass accuracy. They had 316 passes to our 516 at 97. Apologies. We had 7 corners to their 3. We had 14 shots to their 12. Okay, cool. You could say we dominated, and that will give the occasion. That if you never watched the game and you looked at the stats, you'd be given the impression that it was a smash and grab sort of thing from Aston Villa, when really, you know, I wouldn't say we dominated it. You could say Aston Villa dominated because they took the early lead when we started slow, and we've just spoken about fine margins. So they've taken the early lead. You know, there's a lot of time at that moment. They've scored what, 30 seconds to a minute left, a minute into the game. So you could say they've taken the early lead. You know, they've been tough to break down. They knew Arsenal won't have an issue breaking down low blocks or units, and they've just managed the game. Yeah, we've huffed and puffed. We had a couple shots that didn't hit the target, but our best opportunity was Xhaka's. We had hella corners. We didn't do anything. So depending on how you look at it, you could say Aston Villa managed the game better than us and then dominated it. But if we look at it on Arteta's point of view, of course, you could say we've dominated it. We've had more corners, more shots, everything else. But we haven't been clinical. Like I said, people, if you just look at the shots, we've had 2 more shots than them. You know, 2 more shots than them, 14 shots to their 12. They've hit the target 8 times. We hit the target 3 times. And off the top of my head, I can't tell you a quality effort we had. You know, I can tell you when Pepe almost scored, probably Xhaka's free kick's the best. And I'm sure you would take that as Arsenal fans. It's not making sense. And for me, it's like kindergarten football. We keep talking about games where across the 90 minutes, clearly we ain't been the better team because we ain't got the 3 points, but we've been good for 60 or good for 10. That's not how you win football matches. And I'm no idiot. What Arteta says in public and in private are 2 different things, but this gives the occasion that we play, like this gives something like we played well. It weren't a strong performance. It was a lackluster start. It was stale. There was no movement. The mentality has to be called in question. Of course, it's not a thing for going overboard, but we haven't been clinical. And there's bare games like this. How many games have we got like this? You know, and this is where we're freestyling. You either get them games where, you know, you're lucky, like Crystal Palace, don't take their chances, you get a draw. You might get a chance where we've a team like Villa where they've gone 1-0 up, and somehow we've been able to score in this 1-1, or you huff and puff and ultimately that team walks away with the opportunity. So I don't really agree with that. I do, but I don't. And he said, but in the Premier League, when you give a goal to the opponents, and we gave them another free opportunities, you know, Barkley and Traore probably should have scored, and you are not ruthless in the opponent's box, you don't win the games. Facts. The rest, the way the team played and the energy that they showed, the quality they showed, the number of chances and situations we created, how quickly we regained position, how we controlled the long balls, second balls, and how aggressive we were indoors. It was all incredible, but it wasn't enough to win the game. So it can't be incredible or a strong performance if it isn't enough to win the game. On whether we need to be more ruthless, he said, yes, if we're not, then we shouldn't be giving anything to the opponent. Simple as that. I agree. That's something we've have to do better, and it's cost us 2 games in the last 4 days because we should have won both games. And again, pardon me, I fully agree with Arteta. But shoulda, woulda, coulda isn't that, and this is where I get onto the players. As much as I'm having a hard time agreeing with what Arteta's saying, the players, what went wrong against Wolves. What's been a theme of us dropping points. Self-awareness. Sadly, we don't know the extent of Partey's injury, but I'm just going to assume the worst because it keeps happening. Personally, people, on how big of a setback it is in terms of qualifying for the Champions League or any European qualification, it's a big blow because when you consider the performances that we put in both games, we've got 0 points out of that. So then, we've not done enough to win the game. We've not, or you would win the game. Of course, sometimes you're unlucky. If this sort of performance, or you get a couple of teams, this happens. Sometimes you don't take your chance. You start slowly. It happens. But we do this too frequently. So it doesn't matter playing well for 60, 68 minutes, whatever. We haven't done enough over the 90, and for me as well, crucially, we've shot ourselves in the foot more so than anything. We've handed the points. Villa huffed and puffed, but they didn't create any chances. It's a bit like Wolves. We're flattering teams sort of thing. This gives the impression that they held us out and things, which you could say that, yeah, but it weren't enough. But they didn't. It weren't enough from us. And he just said, yeah, like he said, we just give the opponent the game. We need to come back. Remember Bellerin's comments in the aftermath to Wolves people. He said, we've done it this season and we have to do it again. We have a week now to prepare for the next game against Leeds and then focus on that. Keep maintaining all the right things we are doing and the way the team is evolving. We need to stop certain things that are costing us the games. We need to, but this should have been said time ago. On whether there's a lack of inconsistency with the Konsa incidents. As you can see, I was really animated for a few decisions, and one big decision that I will not discuss here. It is what it is. It's not enough. It's not an excuse. Regardless of the decisions, we have to win the game. It's as simple as that. On whether the mistakes made in the first 2 minutes, he said those top 4 teams don't make those mistakes. Those top 4 teams cannot play 4 or 5 times in the first 22 games of the season with 10 men. It doesn't happen. There's not a team in the world that can sustain that. If you can see the goal early or make an error, the team has to react. The team reacted, and we had done more than enough to still come back and win the game. If you don't do one thing, you have to do the other. If you're not ruthless enough in the opponent's box, then of course you're going to lose. And for all Arteta's problems, we're stuck with a bunch of players with bad habits. And this is why I tell fans, calm it down. When you're talking about new deals for Lacazette, new deals for El Nene, Cedric is the right back. I'm not saying these things are wrong. I'm not. But, let's be real, people. As we always say, there's only about 7 players that give us over a 38-game period that we could probably bet all our collective life savings on are going to give us a sustainable level of performance. Partey, the only question marks you can have over him, and also Kieran Tierney, that's the first 2, is injuries. They might have the occasional bad game. Partey did 2 games ago. Tierney probably against Wolves this season. But 9 times out of 10, they're certified. Gabriel's had a couple of bad games, but 9 times out of 10, he's certified. That's 3 names. For me, you've also got to throw Martinelli into that as well. So who have I said? I've said Gabriel, Tierney, Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, Thomas Partey. Leno makes mistakes as well, like you're saying, but I'd probably throw Leno into there. Historically, I would throw Aubameyang because he's been a goal scorer, but this season I probably wouldn't. They're the only ones. Other men go through good bouts of form, and we can't have too many players like this. I like Cedric. I'm not turning on Cedric like some men are because he was 30 before that. My problem is it's these proclaiming that like this is it now. We need to see it until the end of May, because right now I'm seeing what I've seen from Cedric. You play well and then you do shaky things like that. Same goes for David Luiz. I'm a big Lacazette fan. He's been playing well, and really this is the last sort of bad anonymous game he's given. But if he signs a new deal, is there going to be a drop off? Lacazette's been hot and cold this season. Pepe's playing his way into form. Is that gonna be consistent? There's too many. We let form gas us too much as Arsenal. Obviously, it's about form. You play your way into the team, but football's got to be. You've got to look at it with balance and not draw conclusions week in, week out in 2 extremes. This is why I say we need to calm it down. Really, a lot of these players can't be relied on. As much as Arteta's got faults, some of these players are making the same mistakes. And if you make the mistake twice across 38 games, I can account for that. But, you've got certain players making mistakes 4 or 5 times across the season. And, the points all add up. It doesn't help saying that we played well against Southampton. We done all right for it. And when we was 11 men with Wolves, we done this against Villa. Things happen. You've got to be able to react to it. You've got to be able to get over injuries and whatnot. And this is why we've got too many hot and cold players, people. This Arteta has a lot to answer for, but at the same time, It is what it is. So I'm not too sure what to make of that. But fundamentally, I do agree that teams don't make those mistakes. He also said, I think this is another one in terms of being frustrated and disappointed. Um, yeah, man. He said the same. He said, yes, frustration and disappointment to lose the game the way we did is incredible. But saying that if you give something to the opponent and it's not once, it's 3 balls away in difficult areas, you stand a chance of losing the game. And these are the things I don't think Arteta can account for. He shouldn't have to tell these experienced players these things. You know, I don't think you have to tell Saka, Smith Rowe this, but if anyone should have to be told that, it's them young players. When you produce the kind of situations that we did around the box, inside the box, the shots, the blocks, the set pieces, you have to score goals. If not, you cannot win the game. So if you can see cheap goals and you're not clinical in front of the goal, you know, if you can't keep, as simple as that, if you can't keep goals out the balls out of your net, and you can't pull it in the opponent's, logically speaking, that's all football is. You're not going to be able to score goals. On conceding a cheap early goal, he said yes, but still the reaction of the team was there, and we kept playing and we kept creating chances and playing forward and dominating the game completely. Not too sure that's the case. You have to put an end to it, and in training there are certain things you can do, but against pace and against an opposition, it's something different, and we have to do that. That's what we have to do to improve. Big up Matt Ryan as well. You know, like he said, he played well. I'm not going to harp on about Matt Ryan. We all can see that's probably the only positive of this game, really and truly. On no midweek game, he said, yes, but today I saw the players, the way we were going, the way they were chasing, the way they were putting the effort in. It wasn't about anything physical. It was down to some things that as a team we have to do better. And I agree with that. We need to learn how to break teams down. We need to learn how to play better in a low block. But I think mentally, a lot of it's mentally. The players have to, like, even with Watkins, I'm seeing the midfielders. The midfielders not their job. But who's saying, okay, let me drop in quickly? I see Watkins and my centre halves are switching off. Let me drop in. Who's making that extra run? Who's being galvanized? You know, players need to get themselves also to do that, but also in the headspace to say, I'm not going to make these cheap mistakes. As much as I get Arteta, I think there's some things he can't account for. So it is what it is firmly in that regards. We'll have to see, man. But it is what it is. It's disappointing nonetheless, people. Really disappointing. What was that? Let's say 45 to 55 reaction. Arteta press conference. Post game comments reaction. See how I do well with the thumbnails for you lot, people. I mean, man, I keep saying thumbnails, man. Timestamps. Apologies, people. But yeah, man said sometimes I think we're cursed. Me too, my guys. Me too. South London is saying Laka should be sold. We didn't buy you for hold up play. We bought you for goals. South London, I agree, bro. Like, I do think I'm not going to lie, I do think Lacazette's got some strengths that can be used in the squad. But I agree, man. I think football fans praise people for stuff they should have as a minimum, you know. All of these things should be a bonus. You know, if you ain't got hold up play, you should be able to be an elite goal scorer sort of thing. Apologies, the green screen's moving mad. But yeah, like you said, winning fouls, pressing, all of these things that we praise Lacazette for, you should be able to do that as a striker anyways. And I do agree, you know, I'd expand on what you're saying. I think people use that as a crutch because he's not scoring goals. If he scored goals, all of that's a bonus. It's now all used as a reason to justify him in the team. I'm not saying Lacazette shouldn't be. If we're real with ourselves, he's been a good player for us. It just ain't been the Lacazette we thought we was getting. Spurs might have a penalty, in my opinion, because Carlon Grant looked like he was doing a madness there. But it is what it is. What else are you lot saying? Nick is saying lots of sour Skittles or 2 London pints after lockdown, Deluded. To be fair, I want the Skittles today, man. It's snowing. But then again, a couple pints would be good. Who knows, man? Who knows? We're going to get to that, man. What are you lot saying? Facts, man. South London's on fire, man. I ain't seen you in the comments in a while, man. Normally see you on the other channels and that, but this is the sort of impact comments and impact from the live chat I live for, man. Keep them coming. Claudius is saying we look lethargic. All the play was in front of Villa's defense, and that's true. That's it for me, you know. Looking lethargic, not having ideas, not having the quality, starting off the game reactive. That shouldn't be attributed to dominating a game for me, anyways. I don't know, but each to their own. Partey has only been involved in 9 games this season. As for whether he has played full 90, I'm not so sure. Is this alarming? Supposedly Vieira's second coming is turning into Diaby's second coming. Jason, but you're scaring me the way you've put that, you know. I don't know for the Partey thing, man. Maybe we're not. Maybe it's one of those. Maybe it's something we're doing because he was barely injured at Atletico. Lo and behold, he's come here and there's a problem. Is it something to do with the Premier League? Is it the demands of our training? Is it something we're doing with our rehabilitation for Partey and our aftercare? Because we seem to be putting him in situations where he's coming off injured, and every week this is happening. It happened against Southampton, got 90 against Wolves or whatever. It's happened again. Are we asking too much? What is it? I don't know. But it is quite scary and concerning because it's a bit like Tierney now in that you're missing these players through injuries and things like that now. Actually, it's always the good players who get injured. Like, not that I want anyone to get injured, but for Arsenal, the players that can actually pass the ball forward, always injured, man. It's mad. Absolute madness. Absolute madness. It's a rebuild. It's a rebuild, man. It's a rebuild, but at the same time, for me, it's about what we're seeing. Again, nobody likes to lose, but for me as an Arsenal fan, it's how you lose. And too many a times, I don't like losing anyways. If you lose a game, you can always look at what you should have done. But 9 times out of 10, I'm not sitting here and saying, oh man, how good was Grealish yesterday? He danced past 10 men and scored the winner, or Martinez, he showed his quality, or McGinn, or this and that, or Watkins showed this and that. We're not sitting there and saying their players showed some quality, which they did. We're sitting there and saying we've handed those points. And too many times this season that has been said, we're handing people points. It's how you lose. If they took it over our dead body, what could you say? They're the better men. If you're in a boxing match and you're giving it as good as you got, and the next man is giving it as good as he got, and he smacks you, what can you say? But if you ain't done your due diligence on that boxer, and you come into it on some wavy thing, and you drop your defense, and he smacks you up, you've given him a cheap victory. You have to look at yourself because you wasn't fully prepared. You mentally weren't ready. Surely, people. I don't know. Cedric is better than a lot of our attackers. I don't know whether to laugh or cry, but that doesn't mean much. I don't know what brownie points that gives you. If you're not, you can have all of that. If you're going to switch off and that technical quality that you should have showed on the ball, you fucked up and made a mistake. So it's not going to make much sense, man. It don't really help me, man. Big up troops. Why are you not bigging up troops? You, man, that's not the real troops, man. Come on, be serious. Like, man. What else are we saying? Arsenal are relying on Saka and Smith Rowe too much. Smith Rowe looks burnt out, and Saka was fouled and marked out of the game. Watching the game again, I think Saka played better than I gave him credit for. And I don't think Smith Rowe looks burnt out, but I do agree we're running the risk of burning him out, and we need to save him. And I think one benefit is you see Odegaard come off the bench. He looks like he could have something to say. I also agree with Coley's comment. I thought Gabriel had a good game. I think he did. I think he really mashed work, and he really fixed up after shaky FA Cup game. He's reminded people of his quality. And to be fair, he did look good off the bench against Wolves. So maybe it was a thing where he just needed a bit more sharpness and a bit more minutes in the leg, and it's back to business for Gabriel, people. Big up yourself, Apex. Another super chat. I really appreciate that. You said, do you think Arteta phases in more advanced training drills as the team gets better? Logically, every coach should have been doing that, but in terms of breaking down patterns of play and things like that, I think we've got to do a lot more before we can advance. We're not doing the elementary thing. So how could you go and do the uni sort of stuff? We'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. Big up yourself, man. If we don't win the Europa League, which is likely, where will you stand on Arteta? Well, I don't expect us to win the Europa League. I want to see a better performance. I'll be very critical of Arteta in the Europa League because I'm looking at how do I make it make sense? Learning from last year. And I think the players messed up over the 2 legs. And I think Arteta did. I think the players should have killed off the game in the first leg last year against Olympiacos. And then we obviously threw it away in the second. So I think there's a lot to be learned. And I think in the FA Cup, not going to get onto him. I do understand rotation, but our end goal is Champions League. Our minimum should be Europa. FA Cup gives us a platform in Europa League. We threw ourselves out of that. I need to see an improvement with Arteta in the Europa League. I don't know how far we're going to go in that, but I want to see something, man. To be honest, I do think Holding has leadership, and I think Gabriel does as well. But Holding seems very reactive to things. He needs to be a bit more vocal. Gabriel is still learning on the job, and that's probably why David Luiz is good for him. But I do think we need another centre half if it isn't going to be Saliba and all of those sort of things, man. So yeah, man. What else are you lot saying? To be fair with you, I think holding. Do you know what? I think the last two games against Wolves and Aston Villa, I think Holding's been done a bit dirty, and I think that's where he needs to. And like I said, with the midfielders, even when it's not your mistake, you've got to smell danger. I think Holding hasn't been directly to blame for either of those goals, but he's had a part. David Luiz should be in position. Holding's not aware of his runner. That's something Holding needs to improve, and it was also shown today. So I don't think Holding deserves to get the heat, but I do agree, man. Fundamentally, whether it's Holding, Cedric, David Luiz, I won't say Pablo Mari because I think he's good, but I haven't seen enough of him. There's bare players that will show us a good 2-3 games and the opinion changes and we say they need to do this, they have to be this, and then they go and flip it around. We've got too many hot and cold men in this thing, really. For me, I do start Odegaard against Leeds personally. It's a home game. It's time for Odegaard to get his first real home minutes. I think Smith Rowe's been good, but we need to save his legs before he follows on what's happened to Saka and Tierney and obviously Partey and getting these injuries and things. If Smith Rowe's fit, then I won't complain, but I do think there's an opportunity to be had there personally. And I agree with Lion Bar. This is it, man. This is it for me, my guy. These sort of players, they can do a job there, but sometimes you need a natural. If you've got a man that can be utilized there, fair play. But sometimes you need a natural, and that's what I was saying. I think he was even in the live stream when I said, as much as I like Saka left or right wing exclusively, that's where we need him. Sometimes I'd rather prefer Saka doing a job for me in that game than shoehorning somebody, because obviously you've seen Maitland-Niles boss it in semi-finals and cup finals and all of those sort of things. You've seen him play shaky in a game at home against Crystal Palace. Cedric's bossed it, and then Cedric's looked shaky, Tierney's probably had 2 bad games in an Arsenal shirt off the top of my head. Wolves was one, and I can't remember the other one. We need naturals, Sometimes you need just a man, and I'm not going to criticize the decision to sell, to loan out Kolasinac, but that could be one that comes back to bite you, really and truly. Fully agree, man. Top 6 is impossible. Nothing in life is impossible, but I do agree with you. As long as it's to be like Arsene Wenger, as long as it's still mathematically possible, the players should fight, but it's impossible in my mind, really and truly. And facts, we need better players, man. Way better players, fam. In the crucial areas as well. I think Pepe had a decent game, but fundamentally, it's not enough, innit? The only one that I think I would say had a good game is Matt Ryan. Because if I'm Arteta and I'm pulling them all into my office, what more could I ask Matt Ryan to do? When I watch the goal again, his positioning maybe, but it's taking a deflection and it's not his fault, really and truly. Matt Ryan's the only one that I could say, cool. Before the game, I needed a base level of performance, and who showed it to me? Do you get it? So everyone could have done much better, man. Much better. I think Saka's better on the right, personally. I think he's equal. Remember, I used to say, you lot are forgetting he can excel on the right. People used to tell me I'm tweaking. It's like, no, it's not that I'm a genius. It's not that I'm talking nonsense. He's doing that for Arsenal's under 23s, left and the right, man. I think obviously being a left footer on the right hand side, you can tuck in and things like that. Left side, he gives us a very good dynamic, and he's worked well at fullback with Aubameyang in front of him, with Martinelli in front of him, in front of Tierney. You need what you need to do. Philip has said, I don't want us to be in Europe. I do, because if we're not in Europe, we're going to get even worse financially. And look how long it took to get Partey with that. We're going to get less. And I know people will say, oh, yeah, man, being out of Europe, we're playing once a week. I get it. I hear the logic, but that was said about Europa League. What happens when we're playing once a week and we're putting in foolish performances at the weekend? So I'm not getting at you, my guy, but you get the point, man. Bro, I'd rather a lot of man to Kolasinac. You're right. What have you said, my guy? DG, bit unrelated. Apologies. What do you think of Romeo as a player? Decent lad, puts a foot in. Assuming you're talking about the Southampton lad, but it is what it is. Arsenal need a defender who can read the game. Bro, we need all people that can read the game. We need street smart individuals. We don't have that. We really don't have that. So we'll have to make of that what you will, people. It really is, man. Boy, Arsenal board would sell Lacazette and replace him with Eddie Nketiah. I hope not. I really hope not. Hope not, people. Really, really hope not. Or it's peak in that regards. Please get the likes up, people. How are we only at 87 likes? Please turn that into 100, people. Please turn that into 100. We've been here for over an hour, so I'm gonna get out of here, people. So yeah, people, I've offered it from a tactical analysis. If you've missed any of this, I'll be out here with some timestamps for you guys. I'll be back tomorrow. But on that note, I'm out.